Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rose and I do a lot of stuff. I'm a writer and artist, and here on this channel I talk about building and sustaining a creative practice that works for you. Now, if you've been here before, you may know that one of my favorite things to do is journal. I'll link some videos I have about it down below and wherever they go, corners. So I'm talking journaling in the traditional sense, writing it out by hand, once a day, typically. I'm not a daily journaler, but I definitely get in some writing sessions a couple times a week, I would say. But as an experiment, I wanted to try art journaling for the first time. So I've seen a few videos of different collage artists and different art journalers recently that I found really inspiring. And I kind of wanted to combine my love of writing and sort of the expressive experience of journaling with my passion for art as well. It just seemed like kind of the perfect combination. So today I'm going to be showing you my first week of art journaling. I decided I would do this challenge every day for 5 days straight and just see what I thought of it, what I got out of it, and decide whether this was something I wanted to incorporate into my artistic practice. All right, let's get started. To begin this collage style approach to art journaling, the first thing I needed was magazines. So I went about tearing out my favorite pieces of some various National Geographic magazines, other publications that had, you know, big glossy prints and whatnot. I got most of these from a local library's dumpster. They were weeded from the collection at my local library. So a little pro tip there, there's a lot of me acquiring free supplies in this video. Then I began to make my little booklet. So I grabbed a couple of pieces of watercolor paper, enough to make it so that there would be 5 full days with a open spread that I could use for each day. And I began to fold these pieces in half, pull out my little ruler to get that nice strong crease so we have a little bit of a booklet here. And then I put the pages together and stitched them in place. It definitely wasn't the tidiest bookbinding I've ever done, but it all gets covered in glue and paper later. So then I have a nice little sturdy booklet with a cover and 5 spreads on the inside. I then began the process of decorating the cover with some paper I had around. This find was from yet another dumpster, this pattern floral paper here, and I've had it for a while, just kind of looking for the exact right thing to use it on. Definitely a theme in my work. It's getting out of hand a little bit, actually. I have a tendency to accumulate scraps, materials, especially things that are beautiful but could end up in the trash. I tend to have this vision for them, and I hang on to them in case, you know, they could work for a project like this. There's the cover. All right, let's get started with day number 1. I was just kind of moving by instinct on my first day here, and I grabbed several of the sheets that I found just visually stunning. I was very drawn to the color green, I remember, on this day, and I was also trying to convey a sense of newness with this collage. It was my first one, and so I wanted it to have kind of that feel of like a beginning, basically. And then as I started very meticulously cutting out these corn plants, I realized that every day was going to be a very long process here. In the bottom left corner, I wrote 06. Now that's the date. It was Monday, September 6th. And that is kind of my way of making a uniform look to each of these pages. And here's the result. I love the fish in the sky. Oh my God. Now, here's day number 2, Tuesday the 7th. I decided that one thing that was kind of missing with my process on the first day was directly translating emotions to the page, or just the theme of the day. I'm pointing to my orange drink here and writing down the word orange because that was one of the things that was inspiring me that day. I also wrote down Tuesday scaries, kind of like the Sunday scaries, but this was the day after Labor Day, so I was kind of returning to my workflow. I was having a little bit of anxiety about that. And basically with this spread, what I tried to do was translate the things I wrote down here on the paper that I immediately cover up. The last one is beautiful ideas. But just by writing those down, I kind of had them at the front of my mind more when I was collaging. So I'm taking a lot of food pieces in this one and bringing them together with some other somewhat unusual elements, like this very warm, earthy orange mesa or plateau. I'm not quite sure what it is there. Along with some paint chips. And then I noticed that while I was grabbing pages, I had accumulated just a whole bunch of citrus. So it felt natural for it all to go together here, along with a few other things. I have some apples here. Looks like a flower and a big old orange slice. This page was fun because I wasn't exactly creating a scene, but there is a distinct flow through it. And in real life, playing with all these different textured elements is really, really soothing. Except for the glue, like, I don't know about you, but I hate having the sensation of like a glue stick on my hand. And I have this mat down on my desk because I didn't want it to get all over my white desk surface, but it does anyway. Here I'm deciding between 2 little stickers. Both of these are from my Redbubble shop. I ultimately go with this longer ghost that has the funny little mouth and cheeks. Plop that one right down in the middle, and then I paint the date on in white. Again, this is such a different texture on this page. I decided to add it in a few more places, so you get some little exclamation points across the whole thing. Very bright, very colorful. Now I'm on to the next one. What is happening here? On Wednesday of this week, I put out a call on Facebook to see if anyone could give me some vintage magazines, and I ended up with about 100 of them. I only really needed a few, but I got boxes and boxes of them. So I began to flip through, and I pulled out some more of my favorite magazine pieces. Like, not even all of the magazines were in that shot. Like, they're on the floor of my studio. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but I definitely have enough materials to keep collaging. Today I wrote down books, specifically mine. And stuckness, dusty, and words. So I picked a lot of older images for this spread. A lot of black and white is happening here, as well as things that kind of remind me of the novel that I've been working on submitting, which is a seafaring novel. So that's why you get the boat in here and this funny little picture of a scuba diver. And then on the left, I had all these words that I had clipped out. I did a lot of the clipping of smaller elements in advance, so this actually took quite some time. There is the prep of the pages early on, and then day of, there was the composition, the arrangement, the gluing down, the drawing, all of that. Really interesting. I mean, I have always been kind of a collector. I do remember when I was a teen, I did some projects that were kind of close to this, but at the time I was really into like celebrity culture, so I would clip a lot of things from like Entertainment Weekly. and put them into like binders and whatnot. Here's the final result for that Wednesday piece. Much more along the straight lines. Oh, and I'm showing my cat Smoke here what he thinks. What do you think, Smoke? Now, Thursday's where I had a lot of fun with the vintage magazine clippings. There's something just about the color quality of them that really called to me. And I wanted to do something like a little bit more artsy, like with some more drawing elements to it for this one. I don't think I wrote down anything on this page, I'm just realizing. Because, as you'll see in a moment, I had a very specific vision for this girl and her cow. So I put down a little bit of a background for her with some of my Posca markers, just so that she could stand out real nice. And then she gets a nice little mushroom head. As soon as I saw this mushroom clipping, I knew I wanted to like do something with a fashion image, or in this case, it's like a historical folk costume that she's in, I believe. It's a Wisconsin image, so her and her cow are all decked out. And I just thought it was so whimsical and perfect, and it really reminded me of some of these like retro space kind of surrealist collages I've been seeing a few creators make lately. This was just kind of my quick attempt at it. I cannot stress enough how slowly this work is. I've sped this up so much compared to how long it took me to make each and every spread. Something I really remembered in this process is that I'm not good at precision cutting. I was actually a camp counselor once at this summer camp where I had second graders, and we sometimes have to help them out with arts and crafts projects because, you know, when you're little, you don't necessarily have like the fine motor skills. So these tiny children would ask me like, hey, can you help me cut this out? And I remember this one kid asked me that, and I started cutting out her project for her, and she was like, oh, never mind, like I can do better than that. So yeah, cutting stuff out is really not my strong suit, and it takes me like an extraordinarily long time. But on this one, I had a lot of fun adding in different little illustrated elements like the mushrooms on this spread. We're on the last day of my week. I am feeling sleepy, but still ready to do some more experimenting. That's the last word I wrote. Inspired, okay. Look how many scraps I have left still. So many. So I started sorting through and trying to find the ones that I knew I really was called to. And just because I wanted to make sure that I found a home for them within the scope of this project. So paint chips here are establishing a bit of a background. Again, another free art supply. I feel like I have slightly crow-like tendencies when it comes to collecting these things. And there's still part of me who remembers when I didn't have very much extra cash to be spending on these kind of hobbies, and I would love to do this type of thing. So on the right-hand page, I was kind of going for like an Alice in Wonderland vibe. I laid down this background of pink checkerboard Poscas and started adding these cakes and everything. By this page, my glue stick, which was fresh when I started this, was thoroughly dried out, and I was literally using a paintbrush to apply the glue down onto different elements. I think this page really comes together when I add in some of the little marker details. The scale with the dog and the cake is meant to be kind of comedic. And then everything else, just the colors go very nicely. You got some different lines angling in different ways. And that there is my very last page. What did I think about this experiment? It was so fun. I had an absolute blast. I would say the process itself, when compared to my normally journaling, I would say the process itself, when it compares to my normal journaling practice, is pretty different. It's kind of like comparing apples to oranges, honestly, but I did feel like it still served that purpose of having dedicated time set aside for myself during the day to, you know, work through some thoughts in kind of like a chill, meditative fashion. There were some days where I spent like an hour and a half on each spread, and that is a long time for me. That's more time than I would normally spend in my written journal, but I definitely listened to more podcasts in that week, and I got hooked back on some of my favorite podcast series. One thing that I see in a lot of people's art journals that is sort of missing from this one are like scraps and memorabilia and ephemera from the actual days that they are journaling, so receipts or like takeout menus and stuff like that. I wasn't really going anywhere, or, you know, other people have like cute Polaroids in there. That's something I would be interested in trying out more someday. Mostly this was like a set aside time to do a little bit of art practice each and every day. And I do think it was really fun. I think I'm gonna keep doing this every once in a while, but I don't think a daily thing is really how it'll work out for me. There might be a cool way to do it like monthly with sort of some of that paper ephemera and whatnot. Overall, I mean, this is a cool little small sampling of my week in September. Do I recommend this? If you're an artist already, I think like why not? This is a very fun way of working with different shapes and colors and textures, and just kind of, it's one of those low pressure kind of art making things to me, where since you're kind of giving up the control over what supplies you necessarily have available to you, you can kind of find some more freedom there. I'm not sure really how it intersects with like my writing life and that journaling practice I have. I didn't feel the sense that they were related as much. There were days, you know, where I still cracked open my handwritten journal because I still wanted to do that, you know. But I do think some of these are just very expressive and kind of like channeled some really oddball ideas that were running around through my mind. I want to know, have you ever tried collage? Have you ever had an art journal or a bullet journal or something like that where, you know, you make it really pretty and that's part of the fun of it? Have you ever tried it? Does it work for you? Is it something you want to try if you haven't ever done it before? Are there any other journaling challenges that you would recommend? Maybe ones you've tried or ones you've heard of that you think I should try? That would be fun. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. If you would like to follow me there, I'm at @EmroseErit. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to stick around, you can subscribe. I upload. It's usually about once a week. And that's all for now. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, this is Emrose. See you later. Bye-bye.